I will be showing the Iris COVID-19 bot that was built by the NeXus Hub ICT task force. Like I would have mentioned earlier just a little bit, the primary mode of delivery is done through conversation. So it's built on a conversational AI platform by Clinking, which is a conversational AI company based in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So the underlying technology is based on their platform. So this is the web channel that you can access at iris.gui/chat. I'll share that in the where is it here? I'll share it in the chat. So if you go to iris.gui/chat, you'll actually be able to speak with it as is. So I'll just do a quick demo of this, and if I have time, I'll show the other app that we've been working on. So I'll just get into it. Hey, I've been living under a rock. What's this business? COVID-19. So I'm a new user. I want to know what COVID-19 is. So I could ask what is COVID-19 or anything around that, and it'll basically provide me with a response. It is a speakable response, but Chris, would I be able to play the song?
Yeah, you should. Just say I was allowed to. Should I ask a question?
Coronaviruses are a large family of viruses that cause illness ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases such as severe acute respiratory syndrome. Coronavirus disease COVID-19 is a new strain that was discovered in 2019. It can be transmitted from person to person of all ages.
All right, you guys heard that, right?
Yeah.
All right, good. So we can proceed to ask it various questions. It sort of helps you here to understand what it can do right now. So like you can say, what are the symptoms? So tell me about symptoms.
The following symptoms may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure: fever, cough, and shortness of breath. If you develop emergency warning signs for COVID-19, please get medical attention immediately. Emergency warning signs include difficulty breathing or shortness of breath, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, new confusion or inability to arouse, and bluish lips or face.
Alrighty, good. So as you can see, it provided response, and then it also gives you just not text-based response. It also gives you links. So when I click on this link, it'll actually open up a CDC website that shows you what are the symptoms. So you can see where the source of that information is coming from, as well as it shows basically a lot more rather than this condensed bit. So one thing that it does is it actually can do something very similar to what Julius's app does, which is it can actually sort of give you an idea if you're infected or not, and what you should do if you're infected. So actually that's not first. What?
The first thing to do is to remain calm and not panic. If you are having severe coughing or respiratory problems, contact a medical practitioner immediately. Older adults and people who have serious underlying medical conditions like heart disease, diabetes, and lung disease are at higher risk of getting very sick from this illness. Please answer the following questions to know if you are likely to be infected. Do you have a fever greater than 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius? Or are you showing symptoms such as dry coughing, shortness of breath, or difficulty breathing?
So based on my answers here, I'll actually go through an entire flow that will basically a set of follow-up questions that will determine if I'm at risk and what I should do if I'm at risk. So for the sake of this, I'm going to say I don't have any of these symptoms here.
Have you come into close contact with someone who has a laboratory-confirmed COVID-19 diagnosis in the past 14 days?
Awesome. I was going to say no here.
Have you recently traveled to an area with known local spread of COVID-19?
Sure.
Are you experiencing any of the following symptoms? Fever or coughing, difficulty breathing or shortness of breath, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, new confusion or inability to arouse, bluish lips or face?
I'm actually having a bit of a cough, so I'm going to say yes.
Unfortunately, there is a possibility that you could have contracted the virus. We recommend immediately contacting the Ministry of Public Health hotline on 2311166 or 6243067.
Yep. So basically, that carried me through an entire flow to triage really whether or not I'm at risk or if I'm actually safe. So this is a really quick way to ascertain whether you have initial symptoms of COVID-19, and then you can of course call the hotline numbers here to get direct contact to the ministry, where they'll take your information and move you along the process if you're deemed at risk. Some other things that the chatbot can do, it can give a detailed estimation and a stats. So I can say what are the stats for the world. So there's no speakable here, all right? Yeah, so it basically shows you the statistics.
Johns Hopkins University confirms that there are a total of 3,380,242 cases, 238,477 deaths, and 1,071,793 recoveries worldwide.
I need to look why that thing takes so long to talk, honestly. Anyway, so this data is being pulled from, as mentioned, from the John Hopkins Coronavirus Resource Center, and they're getting their information from a worldwide API as well that's been validated. You can also ask a specific country. So let's see what's going on in Guyana.
Johns Hopkins University confirms that there are 82 cases, 9 deaths, and 22 recoveries in Guyana.
Right, and then you can ask basically any country in the world. So what about India?
Johns Hopkins University confirms that there are 37,257 cases, 1,223 deaths, and 10,007 recoveries in India.
Yeah, so basically that's the stats portion of the experience.
News competency as well.
Yep. So one of the things we wanted to make sure is that this platform can provide some accurate and fact-based news regarding COVID-19. So we can say what is. I hope it doesn't read this.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Okay. Yeah. So it basically provides news updates from various sources, and I believe this comes from the Crush COVID website, which was also built by the task force and actually being used by the government of Guyana. I forgot the name of the task force, the NCTF, I believe, to provide information portal for COVID-19 cases. If my internet would load, you would see the
news and updates. Parenting during a pandemic. How to cope. DPI. Guyana. Friday, May 1st, 2020.
Good. Yeah. So this was another product that launched from the NeXus Hub ICT task force. It was just an informational website that shows local news for anything related to COVID-19, as well as stats worldwide and cases for Guyana. So this is actually endorsed and supported by the Ministry of the Presidency. So this was the second application that was built under the NeXus task force. The last one is more of a, it's sort of like a very early stage application. It still has a lot of work to do, but essentially the basis behind this particular solution is we wanted to have a platform where accurate decisions can come from regarding the COVID situation in Guyana, and it's sort of tailored towards understanding what is the current situation in households of affected households in the country, and how we could track that information in terms of what are the resources needed for those households, and then provide that information to like the CDC so they can accurately gauge, well, these are the most at-risk areas, so we should prioritize our efforts there versus another area, etc. So this is like an early stage of it, but essentially what the flow kind of works is that you log in, you sign up, you log in, and you populate your household information. So you specify like your location, numbers, how many family members are at risk, how many family members basically are out there every day, how many of you use public transportation, any sort of metric that will either increase your risk status or decrease it. And then you add like your family members to say, well, these are the members of my family, and then you can see if these persons have complications, if there's any underlying medical conditions, if they're working or not. So again, it all depends on those sort of data collection processes allow the application to ascertain your risk level. And after you would have added like created your profile and stuff and your family information, you can then go and add the resources that you have. So resources are essentially the list of items you have for your essential survival. So these includes things like, like basic amenities like food, like very basic food, like flour, rice, face mask, gloves, etc. So basic amenities can be logged here. This is what you have currently, and you can specify the quantity, and then this information gets sent to a relevant source like the CDC, for example. So they can say, okay, well, we have a lot of persons in South Georgetown who are in need of toothpaste, for example, or in need of rice, and they're severely at risk. So the impetus for this application is for agencies like NGOs and the CDC, and even individual public-spirited efforts. They can get accurate data about the current needs and wants from affected or high-risk areas, and then they can tailor their support channel, their whatever resources they're providing to ensure those persons are basically are supported. So those are like the three main applications we have right now. Like I mentioned, this is sort of now being built out. We sort of have a base, but we want to use at least this hacksaw period to work on this and to streamline it, and maybe even interconnect various other applications that you folks may have to make it more holistic and usable.